This is Matthew Cratter from Bitcoin University, and today I wanted to talk about why Bitcoin doesn't need your Shipcoin to scale. This video is a follow-up to the last two videos. The first one, how money actually scales on a gold standard, a US dollar fiat standard, and also the coming Bitcoin standard. And we talked about how money scales vertically, and there's a base settlement layer that's used for large important transactions, and then everything else is built on top of that. And the follow-up video using Bitcoin block space more efficiently. So I'll link to both of those in the description notes below. One suggestion made by some commenters was that we should consider scaling horizontally with shipcoins, with altcoins. So for example, at Handy Stoic, consider scaling horizontally with Litecoin, different team, same league. Litecoin is definitely a different team. It's the slow team that just can't stop losing. It's 14 times slower than Bitcoin when it comes to final settlement assurances, and it keeps bleeding value relative to Bitcoin. So it's definitely a different team. It's not a team I'm really interested in joining though, because I like to win. Another comment from a shipcoiner, Mike941789, translation, Charles Hoskinson was right. You'll be transacting with your wrapped Bitcoin on Cardano. That's quite unlikely. This is what wrapped Bitcoin looks like on Ergo, and Cardano. And basically, if real Bitcoin's not good enough for you, you can exchange some of it for some crappy CBTC. So you give them real Bitcoin, they give you CBTC. If you've never heard of it, there's a reason why, because why in the world would anyone want to quote unquote wrap their Bitcoin? Taking on smart contract risk and probably some counterparty risk as well in order to let some tokenized representation of it circulate on a crappy proof of stake network like Cardano. There remains zero demand for a product like this. Rather, it's just a desperate ploy by Cardano and Charles Hoskinson to attract liquidity and to attract Bitcoin and to keep the game going. If you're enjoying this video so far, I just ask you to help out the channel by clicking that subscribe button, click the like button, leave a comment, question, suggestion for a future topic, and share this video with a friend or family member. So Bitcoin does not need quote unquote help from Cardano or Litecoin or BSV or Monero or any other crypto in order to scale. Money is something that always converges to one, even under bimetallism, where you had a gold plus silver standard, where it was basically a gold standard and then silver was used for smaller change and smaller denominations. Even under bimetallism, this eventually gave way to a purely gold standard. There are lots of fiat currencies in the world today, but almost all of them are explicitly or implicitly pegged to the US dollar and dependent on the US dollar global financial system. The world only needs one base layer, money. So it's ridiculous to assert that people will use one money for saving and a completely different money for spending. People are lazy. Converting from one currency to another is always a pain. And in addition, you risk slippage, fees, privacy leaks, etc. Bitcoin, in fact, will scale fine, as we talked about in the past two videos, by locking up Bitcoin on the base layer in order to do things like fund lightning channels or other layer 2 solutions like Fediments. Once you see someone trying to get you to use a completely different crypto as part of the solution, you should always run in the opposite direction. Another great example of people fudding Bitcoin scaling in order to get you to buy their token is, of course, the Stacks project, STX. This is something that you should definitely avoid as well. It's a bit of a Bitcoin affinity scam, and they use a lot of the same language, but of course they have their own token that they want to sell to you. The question probably arises at this point in the comments, isn't Bitcoin using US dollars, the ultimate chip coin, to scale? I'd say yes, but with a key difference, because the world is already on a US dollar standard. So yes, BTC US dollar exchange rate, it's extremely important, but what's not important is your Cardano or Litecoin or BSV or Monero, because the world has not been and will never be on a Cardano standard, Litecoin standard, BSV standard, or Monero standard. The next question, of course, could be about countries like Argentina, where it's very common people will hold their savings in US dollars and then just convert a small amount to Argentine pesos to spend. At least this is how it's worked over the past couple decades. I'd say this is also completely different, since you're talking about a government-sponsored fiat currency, Argentine pesos, that already has wide adoption. Monero, Litecoin, BSV, etc. have much less adoption than BTC. So I don't think this is a good comparison. And in addition, these coins are never going to be able to catch up to Bitcoin. In order to have adoption, people need to be willing to hodl a currency, unless, of course, it's enforced at the barrel of a gun, like fiat, like US dollars and Argentine pesos. So in order to have adoption, people need to be willing to hodl your currency. And who in the world would want to hodl melting ice cubes like this. This is the exchange rate of Litecoin versus Bitcoin. Litecoin continuing to bleed value against Bitcoin. Monero continuing to bleed value against Bitcoin. Cardano continuing to bleed value against Bitcoin. And BSV completely collapsing against Bitcoin, the real Bitcoin. If your crypto keeps losing value against BTC, it's going to be impossible to get people to hodl it. I would guess that even dark web drug dealers don't want to hodl Monero because it's such a poor store of value compared to Bitcoin. And their suppliers as well almost certainly want to be paid in Bitcoin or US dollars. So if you can't get people to hodl your crypto, you cannot achieve a circular economy. Without a circular economy, you need to keep converting from Bitcoin to your crappy crypto, quote unquote, spending coins. And every time you do that, you risk leaking privacy or even losing your coins if the swap goes wrong. It's really a terrible way of trying to get increased privacy or higher liquidity. The fact is, and the fact remains, that large circular economies provide the largest anonymity set. So for example, if there are 10,000 people in the world using Monero and 10 million people in the world using BTC, in which group is it easier to hide? Who cares about your Monero transactions and their stealth addresses? Because there are probably only about 3 people in your city using it. So it's pretty easy to guess who you are if you use it to buy drugs on the dark web and have them delivered to your place. Or when you make a single mistake online and leak your IP address or other personal information while converting from BTC to Monero or vice versa. How difficult is it to surveil Monero versus BTC or Litecoin versus BTC compared to surveilling BTC versus every other fiat currency pair? So to conclude, Bitcoin doesn't need your shipcoin to scale. Your shipcoin is not a payment rail for BTC. Your shipcoin is not a scaling solution for BTC. Your shipcoin is in fact dying. It's a sinking ship. And you keep getting poorer every single year that you hodl it. People don't want to hodl your shipcoin. Exchanges are delisting your shipcoin. AI robots are too smart to accept your shipcoin. So you might just want to get on the winning team before it's too late. Don't be stubborn about this. Get yourself and your family on the Bitcoin life raft before it's too late. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the like button. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.